Hello, friends. Welcome back to Don't Get It Twisted, where faith meets real life. I'm your host, Wah, and today we're going to be tackling a tough and necessary subject, I believe. It's setting boundaries without feeling guilty. Because sometimes the holiest word you can say is no. N-O. Let's get into it, shall we? So let's get into why boundaries matter in faith and life. Why do they matter? Well, first off, boundaries that you set, they protect your peace. They protect your energy. I'm all about protecting my energy. I feel like you can become drained and overwhelmed when your energy is, upset or someone has gotten into your space and it's like, okay, hold on. Also, boundaries show obedience to God in some instances, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But another reason why boundaries matter is because without them, resentment could build and relationships suffer. Like you're saying yes to everything, and then when you really want to say no, you may end up resenting the person for continuing to ask you. At some point, you might get some overload and like, hey, this person is really getting on my nerves. And it's like, I really don't want to do this, and I'm always doing this. So then your relationship starts to suffer a little bit. You probably withdraw from that person a little bit. In Proverbs 4:23, the Bible says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Everything we do comes from the heart. And if you're not doing it from your heart in love, is it actually a good deed after all? Well, another point is the lie of guilt, that if we say no, we feel so guilty about it. Many people feel selfish for saying no, and like it's a bad word that, hey, I can't say no. I can't say no to him. I can't say no to her. No, I can't. I have to do the thing. The truth is, guilt is often misplaced when you're, honoring God's order for your life. So we can feel like we should be saying yes, and then we saying no, but like, am I truly being a good Christian by turning this person away when they constantly ask me for this thing? And we're not saying don't help people when you can. This is the saying no when it seems like you're just always being asked. You're always the go-to person, and you're always saying yes, and people come to you because they know you're going to say yes. They know you're going to do it. If you continue to overextend yourself and do things that you really aren't, you're really not feeling it, you really don't want to do it, who is that helping? We can reference Galatians 1:10 here. It says, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? That's a question. So what can we do? Y'all know that I love to give tips and practical suggestions for life and a healthy life and living. So in this scenario, what are some practical boundaries we can set for not feeling guilty when we say no to things? Well, in our family, protecting our peace and time for rest, that's important. We need time to ourselves, and sometimes we just do everything because it's easier than saying no, or it's easier than dealing with the person's upset, or like our children, for instance. Parenting is a challenge in itself, and the children really don't, the children of a certain age, they really don't care if you're resting or if you're tired after a 10-hour shift at work, or they still want what they want when they want it. They want to go here. They want the thing. And, you as a parent, we want our children happy. We want to say yes, and we do. In marriage, sometimes it's hard to say no to our spouse because we want to be that submissive wife, and we want our husbands happy. And in my instance, and I'm not going to say no because I want to help when I can, but sometimes it may be necessary to say, honey, I can't go to the thing this time, or no, dear, I don't want to do that, whatever. Or, it's okay to say no. In work, we need to set boundaries of not overcommitting, not overextending ourselves. If the boss gave you 2 projects already, and then there's another one that they're trying to get off of their plate, it's okay to say no. Hey, boss, no, I just, I'm trying to meet these other 2 deadlines. I really won't be able to do it this time. It's okay to say no. In your faith, you're trying to build a relationship with God. You're trying to get closer to Christ. So keeping your devotional and prayer time non-negotiable. You guys know I set my prayer time at 5 a.m. to 5:30, and sometimes it extends to 6 and 6:30. It just depends on the day. But that's my time with the Lord. And so if people are coming in and my children need something, or if they're up at that time, they know not to bother me at this point. But if they did come through, it's kind of like, no, we have to set boundaries for that. That's my time with the Lord. No, I can't do it at this time. If you read Luke 5:15, it says, "But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed." Jesus needed time. He needed time from those knuckleheaded disciples who asked all the questions and they couldn't understand his parables most of the time. He went to pray to the Heavenly Father to get clarity, to recharge, he needed time. And he was Jesus, so well, he is Jesus, but everybody came to him for everything. He never said no, well, until he had to, but most of the time he was always doing all the things. And so can you imagine? And if you're not Jesus, but if you're doing all the things and just trying to be so kind and nice and all the time and saying yes, what do you think that's doing to your body, to your energy? How can we set boundaries without feeling guilty? Let's talk about that. Well, one thing we need to do first is get clarity. We need to know our limits before we are asked, right? Know your limit. Can you do the thing? Are you willing to? Are you really available to go here, to drive them across town? Are you really able to give them your last when your family doesn't have groceries? Are you really able to do whatever it is? Consistency is another way to avoid guilt, to set a boundary. And it's just sticking to the no. Basically, you said no, but say it with kindness. No, I can't do it this time. I'm sorry. No, maybe next time. No, it's okay. If you're doing it in kindness, you really can't do it, and you're just trying to, alleviate that stress. It's okay to say no, but be consistent. And then show yourself compassion. This is another boundary, but just know that boundaries aren't rejection, they're protection. So you're setting this boundary to protect your peace, to protect your energy, to give yourself a little love in not having to do the thing all the time. You can't always be the go-to person, right? Even if you want to be. And some people like that. Some people like being the go-to. And if that's your thing, hey, you stick to it. That's great. But don't forget to check in with yourself. And the way you can check in with yourself, ask yourself a few questions. We can say, where in your life are you overcommitted right now? Like, what are you doing you have so much on your plate? And then people are asking you things. Where are you overcommitted right now? Currently, ask yourself, what guilt rises up when you think of saying no? Do you get guilt? Do you feel guilty when you're trying to say no, when you have to say no to somebody? Sometimes I do, especially my youngest, when he asks for something and if I just can't do it or have to say no, sometimes I'll pull a guilt trip on myself. That I have to realize he'll be fine. He doesn't need that $60 game right now. I just can't get it for him right now. I need to do other things with these funds. Or does he really need it? Or he asks for something at the last minute. I have to say no because, hey, no, time doesn't permit, whatever it is. But I do feel guilty sometimes with the children. I don't say no a lot to my spouse, but when I do, if I have to, yeah, I'll feel guilty about it, but I just need to give myself some compassion and think about that. But what guilt do you feel when you have to say no? And then another thing you can ask yourself is, how can you guard your heart without hardening it? You don't want to have resentment towards somebody who continues to ask you something over and over again because you're the go-to person, because they know you're going to say yes. But at some point you might start saying, hey, I'm getting sick of this person. Why do they keep asking me? I know why they're asking me, but geez, is there no one else they could go to? Well, they don't have to, because you're it. But we don't want our hearts to get hardened towards people when they're asking us to do things. And we don't want to get into the habit of just saying no, especially if you can help, because we want to be helpful people. That's who we strive to be as Christians. Helpful, shoulder to lean on, and but we just want to make sure that we're not doing it out of what's the word? We're just out of convenience, or we're just not doing it out of repetition because this is just something that we're used to doing, or we're not doing it just to save face. So these people will think we're just the greatest person when on the inside we're crying because it's like, I can't really do this. I really don't feel like doing this or whatever, but I want to help this person out. Listen, boundaries don't push people away. They keep you healthy enough to keep showing up for people. And remember, saying no to man can be saying yes to God. That's my time. It's been Don't Get It Twisted with Why. I hope you got something out of there, a little nugget you could take to help yourself set boundaries, to not say yes all the time if you need to say no, and hopefully your life will improve. Until next time, thanks for listening. Peace.